Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure. This is the old Train Sim World 3 going on here, and this is Get Back to Work, series in which I answer your questions while playing some kind of work-based simulation of some description. And today's question is coming to us from Dominic, who is asking about a different type of transportation. Right, I'm a smidge behind schedule as we leave here. It's what is it? It's early morning, and we're in November, perhaps unsurprisingly. And I'm on the old Talent 2 because it's been a long time since I've taken the Talent 2 out, so I thought I'd give it a go. Do I have safety systems on? No, I do not. No, that's not something that I felt was necessary for today's operation. After all, I want to be concentrating on driving and answering the question, which is good. Actually, I've not driven in such a long time that I'm actually a smidge on edge about all of that. But hey, it's going to be an adventure. Anyway, Dominic, so I've got a couple of minutes here. Am I having a nice day? Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, I am. I'm having a perfectly acceptable day. We've had an episode about birds, another about trains. Now combine the two and get planes. Therefore, what are your thoughts on and experiences with little Cessnas, A380s, and everything in between? Also, to not make it too easy for you, I'd like to see you play Train Sim World, preferably Dresden out to Meissen. Meissen's too far away. That's too long. My target for these is about 25 minutes. So I've chosen a 25 minutes-ish route. So we're not going out to Meissen today. And do I fancy some PZB action? I fancy at some point getting good with PZB. Today, though, not that day, because I've got other things to contend with in my old brain box there. So I'm going to stick with that. So planes then, huh? Yeah. This is really interesting. I have to tackle the topic while not missing the stop. Fabulous. That's interesting. Right then, what are we talking about? I'm paying attention to the signals, of course, and occasionally chucking in a little bit of an external camera view for you. Oh, tasteful. It is tasteful. Right. Planes. I'm not a fan, but that's only because of the amount of time I've spent doing commercial air travel, and commercial air travel is horrendous. All of it. There is nothing good about commercial air travel. If I grip it and rip it a little bit here, we might be able to make up some time. I'm probably about 45 seconds off the schedule at the moment, but I'm sure it will be okay. I'm sure it will. When do you want to slow down? I'm going to try slowing. I'm going to try full-on braking at about 250. I think. I mean, that's still going to leave us late. No, let's go now. I can't remember the braking the braking power that the Talent 2 has. So let's there you go, max brakes. Oh yeah, easy peasy. Right, 250 from about 70 kilometers an hour is not a problem. Cool. Right, smashing. That's not going to worry me. I've even got my stopping markers turned on. I haven't set this game up properly at all. Goodness me, what's wrong with me? I've overshot there. That's all right. Yeah, the passengers will figure it out. Right, good. Yeah, get out of the train. Smashing. Yeah, commercial air travel. The problem I have with flying is the entire industry is put together to cram as many people as possible into a very small place as cheaply as possible, before then flying as economically as possible to get to the destination. The upshot is that you're just treated as walking freight. No real regard is given to comfort. Now, I'm a big lad. I'm 6 foot tall, right? So it's not that tall, but it's big enough that coupled with my my ample posterior leads to there's never enough legroom. There's never enough legroom. That's actually an interesting, well, I think it's interesting observation. Is you really don't want to fly with any American airlines. You just don't. You just do not want to fly with any American airlines because an awful lot of this is going to be slightly contentious, but you'll get Americans on American Airlines, and they're fine. I'm not even going to complain about Americans being too loud, and Americans are quite loud. No, it's the absolute lack of decorum. Now, I mean, I've flown transatlantic probably 20, 25, 30 times, something like that. Always, well, no, with a couple of notable exceptions, out to the West Coast. And I've always flown either British Airways or Virgin. Virgin are very good. British Airways are good. But one time I flew, who was it? I think it might have been American Airlines, but or Airways or whatever the heck they're called. And the lack of decorum on board from the other passengers was just no. It's the obsession with this really gets my flipping. It just makes me so cross. It's the other people. It's not the aircraft as much, although it is the aircraft as well. It's the other people fundamentally that really wind me up. But no, they're stuffing too much hand luggage in the overhead lockers, and then just being uncouth. It's so petty. But no, you really do notice the difference. You notice the difference on people who fly their own nation's airlines. You really notice the difference. But the Americans are just so. I think it's the sense of there's an American exceptionalism thing, and it's slightly interesting to observe it from outside. Separated as the two cultures are by the smallest of language differences, but culturally the difference is huge. And the way that the country is put together, I'm not slamming Americans. I love Americans. I think Americans are fabulous. I think that the country's a bit odd, but the people are always great. Unless you get them in a crowd, in which case they become a bit too much. I know you've done bad things there. Let's hope it didn't mind that I put the e-brake on. No, it did mind. Oh, how are you going to get out of this? Yep, you've interlocked yourself. No. All right, master switch to neutral. You might have to go into max brake. No, that's max power. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. Go into max brake. Yeah. Then do a bit of wiggle it on, wiggle it off. It's not going to do it for you. No, you can press all the release buttons all day long, and I think you've locked yourself out here. Let's try a master key reset on this as well. No. That looks promising. Right, master key on. Still interlocked. No. That's just showing that I'm locked. All right, master switch to forwards, and don't just do it again, you Burke. Yeah, well, look. See, to me, it feels like acceleration is that way and deceleration is that way. That's how it feels it should be. But of course, it's not. No. Matt's explained it to me numerous times, and I sort of agree with him, but at the same time, I sort of don't. It just doesn't feel. You can't do anything with the master switch without the master key in. You've ruined this. You've ruined it. It's all ruined. Where were you going anyway? Right. The only plus side, though, and this is how I got off topic in the first place. The only plus side is you get a heck of a lot more room as cattle on an American airline. They give you more legroom because I suspect, and I'm probably right, that they're anticipating larger passengers, of which I am one. Let's put the cab lights on. That will help. Train lights. Oh, let's turn those on. The passengers will appreciate that. Yeah, well, no, you've broken it. It's ruined. It's all ruined. It's all broken. You're interlocked and you don't know how to release it. I think even a full turn off kind of we could try a handbrake release. You're not going anywhere. That's it. It's game over. It's all, you're out of here. Yeah, you can press your PZBs all ruddy day, but it's ruined. Well, that's a pretty sad state of affairs. You're driving one of the older locos, trains even. by which I mean you're driving one that was made a while ago, and therefore it's got the. This is one of my personal contributions. I said that if you inadvertently slap it in to emergency brake, there should be a stop point while applying the brake before it allows you to go into emergency brake. But no, this was built at a time when it just slides all the way forward through the braking, past max brake into emergency brake. And so if you don't release at the exact nanosecond, you are going to emergency brake. So more interesting still, the M3. Now with the M3, I did quite a lot of player testing with the M3, where I'd bring in new players who hadn't necessarily played before, and just turned them loose on the tutorial, and then said, after you've done the tutorial, you play however you feel like playing. Do whatever you like. And with the M3, without exception, they all activated the emergency brake. And it wasn't their fault, because the physics in the M3 are such that as the train slows down, because they were all using the grab the handle with the mouse and drag it forward to slow down, and without exception, as the train slowed down, the physics was such that the game made them pull further forward than they intended to, and every single person I tested with dragged it into emergency brake. At which point, hilarity ensued, because deactivating an emergency brake lock-off on the M3 is not a straightforward process. No, it's anything but straightforward, because you've got to vent brakes and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, so flying with American Airlines, you get more legroom, and actually, on reflection, that's the way I prefer to fly, because you can't get comfortable. No, you sit in there initially and you go, oh, this is snug. This is keeping me well secured in here, and then you kind of realise, and I can't move. And then if you try and go to sleep, or try and doze off, there's no way of getting comfortable. There's no comfort opportunity presented to you in the slightest, none whatsoever. Let's just check I've got the lights on. Yeah, we go. I actually put the lights on this time around. The passengers will be oh so very grateful. Yeah, and I can't sleep on planes, and I don't know why I can't sleep on planes. I've done the longest journey I've done was on an A3 something or other, fairly big one, going out to Hong Kong. And oh yeah, my personal carbon footprint is just ruined for life. There's no redemption from it. I've got tens of thousands of miles racked up on planes, and that's because I worked for a very large American corporation at one point. Well, it's not that large, but it's a large American corporation, and they flew me over there every 6 weeks, and I worked there for 3 years. Yeah. I mean, that was you get used to it. I actually did enough mileage over the second year that I was there that I qualified as a radiation worker. Did you know that cabin crew qualify as radiation workers due to the amount of radiation they're exposed to over the course of a year? It's a true story. So yeah, I mean that's delightful as well. Yeah, LAX. I know LAX inside out, upside down, back to front, sideways. I've done an awful lot of LAX. Never internal flights though. I've done one internal flight only, and that was a connection, not from LAX. That was when I flew to. Where did I fly into? I think I flew into Boston. I flew to Detroit, and then from Detroit out to Seattle. And that was a slightly odd connection. But no, flying Hong Kong is the longest I think I've done. Although maybe Havana comes close as well. Yeah. And let's talk Hong Kong first. Now, Hong Kong, I was flying business class. Ooh, better class of plane. Now, you do get the it doesn't quite go flat bed on that, which is just as uncomfortable as the regular seats, except at least you've got some legroom. So that's not so bad. But again, still couldn't sleep, and that was a 12, 13 hour flight, something like that. But that was with That was with Air... No, that wasn't with Air France. No, it was with Air France. Now, I've flown Air France 5 or 6 times in total, and the one thing I can tell you for absolute certain is if you have the choice, don't fly Air France. Because at some point during the training of their pilots, they teach them to hate the planes. Just every single one of them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with their flying, but every single one of them, without exception, throws the plane at the runway like they really hate it. Like they cannot stand that plane, and they want to try and do as much damage to the undercarriage as possible by absolutely throwing it at the tarmac of the runway. It's more likely to be concrete than tarmac. Whatever. Yeah, throwing it at the ground for all it's worth. Yeah, every single one of them have done that. I also flew Air France out to Havana, which we had to go from Gare du Nord in Paris because there were no direct flights from London to Cuba at the time. And this I went in 2000, so while Fidel was still kicking around. Amazing place, Cuba. Yeah, and I think that the time is rapidly disappearing where Cuba is anomalous. I mean, it was anomalous because it was cut off from the rest of the world, with the exception of Soviet influences. Now, obviously, it's after the fall of the Soviet Empire, Soviet Union. Well, I guess they were an empire of sorts in 2000, and yet they were still cut off from the rest of the world. Castro, good lad and bad lad at the same time. It is possible to be both, but you know. But there's that. No, Havana was just amazing. But that's an entirely different story. And yeah, that was a lengthy flight as well with Air France, and therefore they hated everything. That was also the one where they destroyed my luggage. Yeah, I had a very good bag. I had a big leather kind of hold all my stuff went into, and it came out of the airport on the way back, and it had got a massive slice down the side of it, thereby destroying the bag. All the stuff was still inside, but they had somehow managed to bisect my bag. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I mean, I've been on. Right, let's talk planes. Specifically 747s. I've been on a lot of 747s, and they're okay, I suppose. I can understand why airlines love them, or particularly in the past love them. You've overshot this one like a boss, because you can cram a heck of a lot of passengers on there. Oh boy, yeah, you can get everyone on there probably twice, and therefore they do a lot. They put as many people on there as possible. I've flown a couple of times on 747s that weren't full, at which point everybody stretches out, and that's quite nice. But give me an Airbus any day of the week. Although I have been on a Dreamliner, and the Dreamliner is a very nice plane. That's the 777, right? Pretty sure that's a 777. The Dreamliner is very nice by comparison. It's like it's why you always want competition. In whatever you're doing, you always want competition because it spurs you forward. It makes you have to do things in an improved fashion. It makes you have to do better. Yeah, and the Dreamliner is obviously Boeing's response to Airbus. But by and large, Airbuses are great. The Virgin fleet of Airbuses, and I couldn't tell you which model it was because I don't care. I don't care what it's on. It's only I know that, you know, iconic stuff, you know, when you're on something iconic. Yeah, no, the Virgin fleet that run from Heathrow out to LAX, very familiar with them. They're a good plane. The onboard entertainment's pretty solid. The food that Virgin do, or at least did when I was doing this, and this was probably 10 years, no, it was 10, 12 years ago. Yeah, very good service all round, really. Yeah, very good service. And the best flight I ever had was coming back on a Thursday night out of LAX, and I think there were all of 14 passengers on the flight. They made us sit where we were assigned for takeoff, to ensure that the plane remained balanced, although frankly 14 people aren't going to shift the balance of the plane by that much, but hey, safety. And then anyone could sit anywhere they liked. You had to stay in the same class, obviously, but anyone could sit anywhere they liked. Now, one of the things that has irked me is getting upgraded. I've never been upgraded. I've been on 50 flights, maybe, give or take, and not once have I ever been upgraded. Not a single time. Herself used to get upgraded all the damn time, and I don't know how. She said that being in first class on any plane is absolutely the finest place to be. She was, when we first met, she was terrified of flying. And couldn't rationalise it at all. And then we were routinely sent places for work, often together. And and I taught her to. Well, I think through me she learned to enjoy flying, because I would enjoy the good bits, and the good bits of flying are takeoff and manoeuvring, turbulence, and landing. They're the bits of flying that aren't tedious. The rest of it is just boring. And the worst part of it is that the air is wrong. Everything about the air is wrong. And you develop a distinctive smell coming off a long-haul flight, and it's all to do with your pores and how they are interacting with the reprocessed air that they've got going on. It is a horrible smell. It's just not a good smell at all, and it's not the other people. Although obviously you are at the mercy of how well other people. That's a nice shot. Look, good. Back in the plane. It's a plane now, is it? Oh yeah, we're going fast enough. We could probably get takeoff if we wanted to. Your mileage is going to vary when it comes to the other passengers on board. But no, No, the smell is just bad. It's just bad. You just smell bad. And then that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that you have to rock up an hour and a half, give or take, right, before your plane is due to depart. At which point you're funneled through a cattle market of everybody unhinges all of their stuff and chucks it through security, comes out the other side, and then you wait. And all of the timings that they tell you, go to gate now, last chance, lies, absolute lies, last chance, what a load of rubbish. You hang out amongst other people who are just hanging out, and then you've got the people who have no due care and attention towards anyone else whatsoever, so they're lying down across 4-seat banks despite the fact the entire thing is full. It's the people make it bad, because everyone learns from example, right? If they see other people getting away with stuff, they are more inclined to try and get away with the same thing. And if nobody clamps down on behaving like a sociopath, then no one's gonna, everyone's gonna act like a sociopath. Right, 2.5 clicks, and we've got a red signal. Okay, I'm up for that. I'm ready for it. I am G to G in that regard. Yeah, just don't put the emergency brake on. I will not put the emergency brake on. You might go, you've got a mark. Go via. We changed the icon so it's very obvious now. You're welcome. That's one of my 2 contributions towards this game. It's like, let's make the icons actually tell you what they actually are. Like this one, it's got hands going, stop. And you go, oh, yeah, great. Signal's changed. Groovy. All right, keep rocking. So, and then you get off at the other end and you have to go through immigration in some fashion or another, and there are times where it's not so bad, where you whistle straight through, and then there are times where it's rubbish and you spend a couple of hours. LAX, American airports, without exception, are probably the worst in the world. I'm talking on an average level, right? SFO is terrible. It's an awful, awful airport. It's nice and clean, but the second you've been through security, there's nothing there. That's the one thing that the Heathrows get right, is they put stuff for you to go and poke around at once you're through security. because they know, oh yeah, we're going to keep you in boredom and misery. And it might only be duty-free shops and the like, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, exploiting the full commercial opportunity of being through security is, that's using your loaf. European airports, they're all fine. Well, I mean, your mileage varies much greater on European airports. Greece, not so much, no. But they're working on it. They've got a long way to go yet in order to kind of reach the heady heights of rampant capitalism. But they'll get there. Yeah, most Greek airports. In fact, I can't remember a Greek airport that wasn't under massive levels of construction when I visited them. Yeah, particularly the islands. So actually, I've only ever done Greek islands. I've never done the mainland. Oh, okay. Well, in which case, all the Greek island airports are amazing. Nicest airports I've been to are Scandinavian. Yeah, Nordic airports are always very nice. They seem to embrace a kind of modern art style approach to things, or at least modern sensibilities towards furnishing and architecture, and that's quite pleasing. You've got a red signal coming up, dude. Don't overshoot. All right, that's power. That's power. You've gone the wrong way. Oh, this is going to be the end of the show. Yes, it is. Yeah. Hello, Mr. Red Signal. Hello. Yeah. Oh, flaming Nora. Press the wrong button. Here we are again. I just wanted to put some train on while I finish the thought. Right. So that's passenger travel. Right. Here is how I would improve passenger travel. It's not a perfect improvement, but I think it's an improvement many people will get behind. You declare where it is you're going. I mean, if I had the choice, I would never get on another plane ever again. Not a commercial passenger plane. If you offered me the opportunity to go in a biplane, however, particularly to learn how to fly one, I'm all in. Light aircraft doesn't really faze me particularly, but a biplane where you're open to the elements, and that really makes me go, yeah, I really, really fancy doing that. Really fancy it. But I'll make that happen at some point. Maybe I'm too heavy at the moment. I'm too large for a standard biplane, and that's fine. That's something I have to remedy. Here is how you fix international travel. I'm talking particularly about kind of long distance international travel. So you give the company your destination, by which I mean the airport and the hotel that you're going to. And a day before you're due to fly, a very large box is delivered that is about your size. Let's call it a coffin. It turns up, and all you need to do is put the coffin outside your house, get into the coffin, and close the lid, and it knocks you out within 30 seconds, at which point you're unconscious. It's got labels on the front of it so it knows where you're going, and a little compartment above you or below you into which you put your luggage. Then a delivery van rocks up and puts you onto a sack barrow, you're unconscious, you don't care, sticks you in the back of a van, and takes you to the airports, stuffs you on a plane, and obviously, because all of the passengers will be shipped in this fashion, you've got, you can get a lot more passengers on board your plane, no problem at all. No worries about passports or immigration or any of that kind of stuff. You know who's in there. They've got all the paperwork. You can scan it for everything. They're unconscious. What do they care? And then you get off at the other end. Well, you don't. You're wheeled off at the other end via some kind of conveyor belt kind of system. And you're then stuck in another van where they deliver you to your hotel. They uncork your casket, dump you on the bed, take the casket away, and your drugs are all timed to wear off as though it's morning. And so you've immediately eliminated any form of jet lag because you've woken up first thing in the morning. You've completely eliminated the entire travel part of it. because you were unconscious throughout. And better still, if the plane ends up crashing, you're already in a suitable box in order to be stuffed into the ground. There you go. Revolutionised passenger flights. Removes all the misery of all of it while making it more effective for the airlines. Not least of all, they can also they don't have to worry about cabin crew anymore. I mean, maybe you want one. Maybe you want a cabin service engineer just to make sure that all of the caskets are behaving as anticipated. Yeah, I'm patenting it. If anybody wants to acquire the patent, just give me a shout. And on the proviso that I never have to undergo it myself, you can have it. Yeah, I'll do that for the benefit of mankind. I've been Colonel Failure. Thanks for the request, Dominic. Planes? No, it's not my jam. Just not my thing. I don't care. I think the idea of flying is fantastic, but I think the commercial way that flying has ended up is the most dehumanising experience possible. It's amazing that we can get from one side of the planet to the other. Amazing. And planes are by far and away the easiest, fastest and most efficient way of doing so. No. I've been Colonel Failure. I've got a frog in my throat and I'll be back with more of these at some point. I've not got that many more. I know I've got another dozen of these to do. So that's all good. I'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.